Hello, I am Sergia Louise, and today on the Lupit Instagram interviews, we're going to be interviewing Ariel Xenia. Super excited to chat with her today. She has so much wisdom to share. She's been pole dancing for a long time. She's got all sorts of fun programs in person and online, and she's always sharing the coolest little sound bites of information. So excited to have her here. Please let me know if you have any questions that we can ask for her. I don't see her joining just yet, but I'll keep watching here. If you are a beginner pole dancer and you are wanting to kind of jump in to a free training, go ahead and head over to my Instagram. And there's a link in bio to hop into a free class with me. Also, oh, there she is. Also, I have another free training up there that's been up there recently, which is how to create compelling pole performances every single time. Red Ruby Go-Go, there she is, Ariel Xenia. I'm going to find her right now and bring her on. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Let's see. Oh, there. Hello. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you great. So wonderful.
Perfect.
Thanks for joining us today. Good to see you.
Of course. I know. I haven't seen you in a long time.
Yes. So I've been just loving so much following you through your whole journey. You started pole many, many years ago, and I kind of want to hear how you got into it. And I know that when we crossed paths, you were in Texas at the time, but where are you located now?
I'm in Nashville.
Got it. Yeah, Nashville, but you do quite a bit of traveling and hold all sorts of events all over the world.
Yes. So I had my first international retreat in Bali in September, which was so fun. And then I will have another in Thailand this year. It's so crazy to say.
I want to go so bad.
Yes.
Sounds nice. Oh.
Yes. But it's so crazy to say that talking with you and thinking about the history of pole and just like how long some of us have been doing this. You know what I mean? And like what it was like before.
I know. I love it. That's why I want to have you chat, because there's so much, a lot of people here have no idea how long we've been doing this,
right.
How long we've been living this life, and how many times that we did things wrong and that we carry with us now when we're teaching our students. And that's why I just think it's so important to bring people like you on who have been in this world for so long, who have so many gems of wisdom to share. I really love, something about, your presence as a dancer and as a human. I really feel like you have pulled together this whole, pole dance, but also lifestyle and confidence and, taking that all in stride and really a mindset. So I'd love to hear about your journey, because it's going to be so fun to hear how that came about and how you landed where you are now.
Okay. So as you know, and probably a lot of people know, it was my sister Alethea Austin, for those of you listening, who took me to my very first class at B-Spun LA, the original one on Hollywood Boulevard. So this was before Alethea Austin was Alethea Austin. You know what I mean? This was like a long time ago.
The big old B-Spun. I remember it well.
Yes. Yes. It was, gosh, she didn't even really tell me like what we were doing. You know what I mean? She was just like, I go to this alternative gym. Do you want to come? Because I was visiting her. So we went, and of course I fell in love with it. It was so fun and so liberating, because I think for many of us, as women, there weren't places to go where you were actually connecting with the people around you in the class. Like when you go to yoga, you're not necessarily, or Pilates, you're not necessarily talking and connecting with the people next to you, but because it's dance, it's just a different level of intimacy. So I was hooked pretty much immediately, but I was living in Indianapolis at the time. So when I moved to Texas, probably like a year or two later, that's when I first started going to like an official studio. And Bryn Root was my first teacher.
Really?
Yes,
Oh,
yes.
wonderful.
Mm-hmm. So I started at Brass Ovaries, and I ended up teaching there and teaching at Inner Diva. And so I was in Austin for a couple years. And then I think it was 2013, I moved to Nashville to help my sister open the Chrome Bar. So I've been in Nashville since then, and we worked together for about 10 years, which was really wonderful. And in the past couple of years, I have branched out and started my own company, hosting my own retreats. And now I'm branching further into, like you said, kind of the lifestyle and the mindset beyond the pole, like really bringing that embodiment that we're all seeking, just in our lives. You know, we want to feel and experience that beauty.
Yeah.
So it's been a really wonderful experience for me, and like journey to this point.
Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of people, you know, who you are today and kind of all that wisdom that you're bringing, and they think to themselves, oh yeah, that she's always been on this path. But the fact is that wisdom was built over years and years and years of being a polar and a pole performer and a teacher and a teacher of teachers, and that says so much about landing back into realizing that so much of what you were sharing and what was the important part was the embodiment part.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like landing back there after all those years, because people probably don't know that you did all the tricks, you did all the things, you did all the hardcore pole training and did all this, and then kind of really found your way into, okay, what's important as I move forward, and what is it that I really want to share with my students.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You know, something else that helped me kind of transition to where I am now is I was actually working as a full-time school teacher for many of the years that I was pole dancing. So I kind of was like doing either dance full-time or in the classroom, and doing it part-time. So, I've brought a lot of that experience with me, just learning how to coach and learning how to really connect with people and how to really um, teach and get a transformation. So, that's something that I honed actually in the classroom and in the dance studio. And being a classroom teacher really encouraged me to slow down. That's like a huge part of my brand and my style, is slowing down, because the feedback that I receive from students, especially beginners, is that a lot of people, they get excited and then they end up on the trick buffet. That's what I call it.
Yeah.
And you're smiling because
Yeah.
they
We're all
get lost on the trick buffet every week. It's something new. It's the latest thing, the latest choreo, and people end up chasing rather than experiencing and really mastering. So it's been so nice, especially I think for those of us as we get older. Like I'm not interested in forcing anything. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
I
Yeah.
really just want to experience the beauty. I think that's what we're all seeking ultimately.
Yeah. And I love that when these messages are coming from people who have, who have lived it and who have maybe done it a different way and have landed back to where this is. Yeah. I mean, at this point in my career, in my life, it's all about just really chasing the joy and
Yeah.
the joy the longevity, like I want to be able to move, and the definition of moving to me over the years is going to change again and again. But I'll always have me. And
Mhm.
if we can really find our way to loving what is, and loving that time that we get to spend on our own, cultivating and slowing down to be present in that, that's what's gonna keep us coming back over and over again. And I always used to say, like, people, beginners come in, they, oh, how do I get better? How do I get a trick? How do I get this? How do I get to that? How do I get this? You say, hey, well, are you having a nice time? And they, well, yeah, I'm having a nice time, but I really want to get the trick. And I'm like, well, here's the thing. If you're having a nice time, you're going to come back. And when you come back, you learn more things. So that's how you get better. Like, so, how can we sustain something that's going to become, or a good example, this is, when people say, well, what kind of workout should I be doing? Well, what's the workout that you're going to do? What's the one you are going to do? Because that's the one you should probably be doing, is the one that you are actually going to show up to do.
Right.
And I think people get on that trick buffet. What happens is that they don't get the thing they want in the buffet line, and they get pissed, and then done. And then we don't see them for a while. And they
Right.
never get to experience what they could have experienced in movement.
Mhm. Well, the other thing I think is, I think it's partly our responsibility as teachers to educate people on how to be beginners and how to be students. And correct me if I'm wrong, you had significant dance training before you started pole,
Yes,
right? Me
yes.
too. I started ballet in third grade, and my program was pretty serious. So, a lot of times people are coming in and they haven't had this type of training before. So they don't necessarily understand um, the timeline involved, how many years it takes to sort of build your capacity and your skill set. And so I think a lot of what we're seeing online and a lot of the teaching that people experience is extremely accelerated. And so it gives us this false sense of like how fast we should be moving through things. But one of the other reasons why, I'm not necessarily doing all the latest tricks and flips is because I know that I'm not committed to the recovery and strength and conditioning program required for
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
I know that me personally, I'm not going to do the hour of shoulder work and active
Yeah.
mobility and flexibility work beforehand. So once you have like an education and you really understand movement, you will know enough to know, like, okay, that's not for me today,
Yeah.
you know?
And that's what's so helpful, is that they're choices,
Yes.
choice. Your choice is, gosh, to sustain that kind of work. I don't want to do the contortion and the active flexibility and the weight training and all the stuff to sustain that. And that's okay. That's a choice, and people just see that tip of the iceberg. They don't see all the rest of the sacrifice.
Right, right,
you know
right. And again, so I just did my first round of teacher training this fall, which went really, really well. And part of what I'm doing is I'm helping teachers and studio owners understand how to find the joy in the basics and keep their students engaged in the basics so that they don't feel pressured to accelerate their students faster than they need to. And so that students actually can kind of get off that buffet line and just get into the dancing, you
Yeah.
know? And part of that came from me teaching first grade teaching preschool, teaching elementary and middle school to understand like how do you actually how do you actually work with beginners, you know, and get them fully committed and engaged in the process and find the joy in the basics. So I think that's just an area that we could all, especially those of us in beginner pole and studio owners, there's a skill to it. It's not just about knowing how to do tricks. And I think in the pole community, you know, it would be wise to focus on, you know, not just the tricks all the time. Like, what are all the other supporting skill sets as teachers that we need, as dancers that we need?
Yeah, and that's so true. I mean, speaking, all the ideas come into my head. I've got a 4.5-year-old on my
Mm.
hands. So all those scaffolding and
Yes, yes.
creating, ways in which she can be successful. My daughter can be successful on her own, giving her the confidence to want to excel at things herself, giving her the ability to have independent play. And all of those thoughts are things that should be going into what we teach beginners. And as you're saying, the instructors and the student owners are the ones who get to create that culture. And it's not easy
Yeah.
because we're working against like all the social media and all the things that people are constantly being bombarded by. But we have a chance in those in-person or in those very intimate online programs to create that culture within, to bring people to that culture. And I think it's just fantastic what you're doing and so important.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been a lot of fun, and I agree with you that, you know, we do have the choice, I think, to create like a more enriching and I don't know, engaging like beginner experience that supports their independence. Like you said, the scaffolding term is spot on. I don't want to use like all of the educational terms, but you know, I didn't know how to really teach dance to beginners until like years in. And a lot of it was trial and error because a lot of times, you know, if you can do the tricks, and you understand the anatomy and the engagement, like, okay, start teaching. But that's not the same as like truly understanding how to help somebody who's never danced before in their life, you know, is brand new to this type of movement, and teaching them to actually dance maybe on their own with whatever, you know, skill set and strength they have in the beginning. It's not about like, okay, how many of, you know, these cool moves can you do and holds, but like, how do you get them going in the beginning, you know?
Yeah. And how can you have a little bit of independence right off the
Right.
bat? What kind of, what what skills are you for teachers? It's like, what skills are you teaching and in what order, and what are you not teaching? Very important. You know what I
I
mean? Like,
agree.
what are we not giving? What are we giving and in what order? And what are
Mm-hmm.
we making sure that they understand A to B first before we even introduce them to D to E, which is going to make brains explode and all sorts of things. It's almost like trying to keep that focus, um, you know, really, yeah. I mean, I'm very protective over my beginners. They have to go through a very specific experience, and I think that's very important. It's what you're doing as well. I think it's not just about regurgitating the information. A lot of, just giving all of it and bundling it on. People need to be given that information in a certain order with, and allow people to use those words in a sentence before they're trying to write.
Right. Right. Yes, this is Spanish 101. We are going to say our names. and ask where the bathroom is.
That's
Yeah,
right. And let's master that first, you know? Like,
yes.
let's make sure we have that on board.
Yes. You know, it's interesting. I tell people I don't teach like fireman to beginners. I don't know if you do, but
I actually only one spin that I teach in their first
ooh,
training. I know, interesting, right?
are you able to share what that is? I'm just
Yeah,
curious.
sure. For me, the only spin that is given to beginners within like the first 4 to 6 to 7 weeks of their training is a back hook spin.
Ooh, okay. Love that. Love that.
How about you?
So similar, I would always do usually a dip spin first. You can do a 180. I love a 180 dip spin.
Yes.
I will do back knee hook, and then there's a little like pin up thigh hold position that I'll do with people. So there, I'll do back knee hook and maybe the pin up spin to get lifted, but otherwise I will wait because even the fireman, you're asking for
Fireman.
2 points of contact with both feet off the
Yep.
floor.
Yep.
It's
Yep.
a
It's a
lot.
big jump. A fireman is a big, big jump. And you know what's so funny is that even that pole dip turn,
Mm-hmm.
it, you know, for me, I'm so clear about how I teach that one because I even in advanced dancers, even in intermediate advanced dancers, I see that one done like without control and
Mm-hmm.
so long for so long. So when I teach that dip turn, it's like, you know, belly button's facing the pole, the leg starts in arabesque, it comes forward into that
Yes.
forward position, booty is pulling back the whole time. So it's very, very specific. Where that's one of those things where people just see it on YouTube and they're just, or you know, Instagram, they're like, wow, so a lot of times it's, you know, it's nice to be able to take beginners through a situation in which you're not going to have to bring them back because they missed a bunch of stuff, like, and fill in gaps in their
Mm-hmm.
training. Learning right the
Mm-hmm.
first time gives people so much confidence. Yeah. And more people want to hang out for longer when you do it that way too, you know.
Yes. Yes. You know, it's been interesting for me because I feel like I was going somewhat against the grain by slowing down so much with my instruction. But the interesting thing is that it actually attracted even more people to me because I think that there are so many students out there who want that type of instruction. And I find in interviewing and working with teachers and studio owners that they feel pressured to do something new every single week and to stay, you know what I mean? Like to entertain and to give that new experience every single time. And so it's been really fun to be part of this trend, kind of like going in the opposite direction, because I think, you know, there's a place for that. And there's plenty of students I've come across who are like yogis and um, super athletic, and they can just plug in and start trying all different kinds of holds and movements and stuff like that, and they're going to go through it pretty quickly. And so there's a time and a space for that, but it's been just really cool to see, you know, just to kind of stand in my own power and use my own intuition to head in the other direction and almost be like, you know what, actually we're gonna go so slow that you're gonna feel like we're going backwards in time.
Oh, wait, I just love that though, because the thing, I, when I'm learning something, I think, and I have, a wealth of wisdom and information in my body from dance and movement,
Mm-hmm.
but I mean, even at my level, like when I learn something else, when I'm trying to learn a new form, roller skating or belly dance or whatever, and people are trying to push me through, like, oh, you
Right.
know this. I'm like, oh no, girl, I don't. Rewind. I'm like, please treat me like everyone else. I really want to learn the basics. You're going too fast for me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, I would like you to slow down because I want to embody that. I want to understand it with my being. I want to understand where it's coming from and why. And And I think that like even for those yogis and for those gymnasts, you know, and I still love to see them go through. They can move faster through the stuff if they want to, and they still got to move through the stuff
Right.
because like, oh my gosh, the gifts that they're gonna have in that intermediate and advanced once they're even up there is they're just gonna have so much wealth of understanding. So gosh, I mean, I just love the slowing down, and I love what you're doing. Please tell us how we can work with you in all the ways. Students, teachers, maybe totally new movers, maybe
Mhm.
movers who've been moving for a long time. I,
Okay.
I literally, sorry, I just wanted to point it out. I was reading through some of your posts, and I just have such a beautiful way of explaining in a way with words. And you said you welcome people to your program, and you said beginners or forever beginners. And I just thought,
Yes.
I was like, thank you for that. I absolutely consider myself a forever beginner, and what a gift to give to yourself at any level to consider yourself that forever beginner. So
Mhm.
tell us where we can hang out with you.
Yes. And before I do, I just want to say, I mean, you are a total pro when it comes to movement. So it's just really nice to speak with you. And I know exactly what you're talking about because, like, I have dreams of being an ice skater. I really feel like I could be
I can
Oksana.
see it. I can see it.
Yes. But I mean, just learning how to balance, you know what I mean? So it's like those of us who, even though we've worked really hard to achieve a level of mastery, and your level of mastery in dancing is completely professional. I mean, it's just beyond, it's gorgeous. um, you still understand the importance and the humility of being a beginner, and knowing that there are always going to be things that you don't know about the movement. And so how could, you know, how can we press fast forward? And the other thing I like to tell people is, you know, NFL players and NBA players have been playing the same game their entire lives, and they're still working on perfecting it. So, what is this nonsense of like, I should be inverting and doing handsprings in 6 months? You know what I mean? Like, think about how long professional athletes have actually been playing the same, doing the same exact skills. But working with me, so I have a new program. I have an online private learning community for beginners and forever beginners, specifically those who are interested in learning my like elegant style of pole, because I'm all about the elegance and the beauty. So that has access to an online tutorial library, and then we do live stream classes each month. And there's a little private learning community where I post challenges. So that is a project that I've been working on for a couple months, and it just went live in January, and it's been wonderful. So that's an online learning community that I have. And then for teachers, I have a beginner pole teacher training course. And this is all about the methods of teaching. So it's not a technical, like how to of everything, but this is about how to really connect with your beginner students, how to get them to fall in love with the basics, and how to be a coach that people want to come back to. You know, how to have that level of expertise that people are seeking you out for privates. Your classes are waitlisted. The beginner experience is just much richer. So it's kind of like a professional development in a way, if that makes sense. So a couple of my students who took that in the fall are already seeing like amazing progress and changes to their classes and to their client base. So that was really, really satisfying for me. And then I have, it sounds like I have all of these programs, but it's really just like three main ones. So I have the Pure Elegance subscription on my website, the Beginner Pole Teacher Training course, and then I have a new 90-day program that I've introduced where I am helping people become their most elegant, confident, and authentically feminine selves through movement and mindset training. So, what I've put together basically is like in the last 10 years, I've been coaching beginners and I've done a lot of private lessons. So, my dance career as a teacher hasn't just been like teaching classes and workshops. I've had some private lesson students for 3 to 5 years at a time where I'm seeing them on a regular basis. And a lot of times during that coaching, we're doing mindset work.
Yeah.
So it's been really exciting for me to kind of get, like almost go beyond the pole, if that makes sense.
Oh, yeah.
And like really give people the true foundation of this elegant and graceful movement. Because once we start to reach for the poles, sometimes like it becomes almost like a security blanket. And we're rounding in and we're reaching and we're grabbing all the time. So in this program, I'm helping people just really connect to that like essence in themselves and work on any limiting beliefs that they might have about whether they can or cannot be graceful, confident, etc., and just help them transform, help them find the beauty in the details of their movement and in their life.
I think that's so wonderful that that's a program that you offer, because it's really starting from, the core before you layer on all the stuff. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for joining me. It's been so wonderful to catch up with you and chat with you, and I've been following you along all these years, and I can't wait to chat with you and work with you again in many different forms.
Yes. Same to you. It was nice to see you. And I'm sure we'll catch up soon.
Yes, well. All right, bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Take care.